Hey teachers, are you looking for ways to teach ELA remotely and ways that you can engage your students with reading and writing activities in an online environment? Well, look no further because today I have got you covered and I am going to show you how to plan an easy day of ELA activities for your students to do remotely. For those of you who are new to my channel, I'm Meghan Vestal. I'm a former teacher and I'm a current curriculum developer. I have worked in both print and online education for the past several years, and one of the things that I'm really passionate about is just helping teachers come up with creative and engaging ways to teach their students. So as we've made this shift to online and remote learning lately, I have loved being able to use this channel to help you guys figure it all out because it's a huge challenge. And one of the questions that I have been getting the most lately is, how do I teach ELA? So in this video, what I'm going to walk you through is how to create a day of ELA activities. Now, before we get started, there are 3 things that I want you to keep in mind. Number 1, you need to throw out what you know. One of the things that I keep seeing teachers do since we've made this shift to online learning is they want to do everything the same way that they've been doing it in a classroom environment. And an online environment is not a classroom environment. You can't do things exactly the same. But that leads me to number 2, because this does not mean that you have to reinvent the wheel. Number 2 is I want you to think about, how do your lessons and activities translate? So it's not doing exactly the same thing that you've been doing, but it's looking at, how can I take what I've been doing and do it in this environment with the tools that I've been given? And the third thing that I want you to keep in mind is digital does not mean that everything has to be digital. You can still have your students do activities at home that are not digital and then upload them or share what they've done with you, but 100% of instruction does not have to take place on the computer. So these are 3 things that I want for you to keep in mind as we walk through planning an ELA lesson. Now let's talk about what an ELA lesson should include. Typically at the elementary level, when we think about ELA, we're thinking of 3 things. We're thinking about reading, we're thinking about writing, which includes grammar skills, and we're thinking about word work. So let's discuss what each of those things should look like when teaching remotely. We'll start with reading. I encourage all teachers to use virtual book clubs when teaching reading remotely. One of the hardest things about online learning is getting students to show up and do the work. And if you want students to show up and do the work, they have to be engaged and they have to buy into it. And one of the best ways to get students to buy into it is to make learning fun. And I have found that students really enjoy virtual book clubs because it's fun reading. I've created another video where I share exactly how I organize and run virtual book clubs, but I'll go ahead and share a few other things with you here just to help you get started. And if you want to see that full video all about virtual book clubs, it is linked in the description. Now, the first thing that you have to do when you decide to do a virtual book club is find a book for all of your students to read. And you may be thinking, well, where do I find a book that all of my students can have access to at home when I'm teaching remotely? And in my opinion, your best bet is Epic Books for Kids. Epic Books for Kids is a free tool for teachers that provides teachers access to thousands of digital books. It has a wide variety of picture books and novels for all elementary grades. Some books even provide an audio feature to help lower level readers. You can easily assign your class or a group of students a book from Epic Book for Kids to use as part of your virtual book club. Next, plan out how your students will read the book and what they will do while they're reading. I like to use a program such as Google Classroom whenever I'm running a virtual book club, because within that you can set up a calendar so that students know what pages or chapters they have to read when. You can also set up discussion boards so that students can comment on the pages or chapters that they're reading and have a discussion about it with each other. And you can also post assignments, such as having students answer comprehension questions through a Google form, or having them create a Google slide presentation about what they're reading. If you're not using Google Classroom, remember what we had said before. Think about how this could translate to the tools and resources you have available to you. So how could you make those things work in that environment? And the other thing I want you to keep in mind, like we said before, is that not all digital activities have to be digital. You could have students create a poster about what they've read, take a picture of the poster, and then upload it to Google Classroom or Flipgrid or whatever learning management program you're using. Don't forget to check out my other video all about virtual book clubs for even more ideas and tips for getting started. Now, one of the questions I've been hearing the most lately is, how do I implement my guided instruction remotely? Once again, remember what I said at the start of this video. Think about how your lessons, your normal lessons and activities can translate to the tools and resources you have available to you. So for example, if you have something like Zoom or Google Meet available to you, you can still have your guided reading instruction. You can meet with students individually or in small groups using that video platform. And I've just shared with you a great tool like Epic Books for Kids, or if you want nonfiction passages, you can go to newsela.com and find free passages there. But you can meet with your students individually and in small groups through that video platform, and you can still have them read and interact with them for your guided reading instruction. It's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be exactly the same, but part of this shift is also a mindset shift and adopting that even though it's not the same, we're going to do the best we can and it's going to be okay. Now let's talk about the writing portion of our ELA lesson. If you want to have a guided lesson, you can do so using your video software that you have available, such as Google Meet or Zoom. You could also create a presentation, an interactive Google Slides presentation, or a Pear Deck or a Genially, and share that with students so that they can get the content that way. And then you can go ahead and assign them a digital writing assignment so that they can practice what they've learned. I have created this writing prompts resource with more than 140 writing prompts that can be assigned digitally. It includes a variety of descriptive, persuasive, and creative writing activities. Assign one of these to your students each day so that they can practice writing skills remotely. Next up, we're going to talk about word work. And word work is called something different everywhere you go. You may call it spelling or vocabulary. In Virginia, where I work, a lot of schools use words their way. But whatever you use as word work, there's lots of opportunities to still practice these activities at home. I've created these word work activities, and in this resource, it includes 24 different word work activities on task cards, and these are all activities that students can easily complete at home. Now, you can assign these activities to students in a number of different ways. You could give them one specific activity and tell them that they have to complete that specific activity with their words on a certain day. You could also give them a list or a selection of those activities and tell them that they have to complete a certain number of those activities with their words during the week. If students complete a word work activity that is not digital, have them take a picture of what they created or what they did and upload it to your learning management system so that way you can keep track of their work, and if you are still taking grades during that time, you can use that as an opportunity for grades as well. Last, I want to talk about spiral review because I am a huge believer in incorporating daily math and ELA spiral review into your instruction, whether it's in the classroom or remotely. And the reason I'm such a big believer in this is because I have seen test scores shoot way up when teachers incorporate daily quality, that's key as well, quality spiral review into their instruction. And I want to talk about what could quality spiral review look like in a remote setting. So for example, I have created daily spiral review activities for the entire school year. I have them for 4th and 5th grade, and each day has a few math and a few ELA questions. The beginning of the year starts out with more grammar type questions, and then throughout the year it expands more into writing. But what I would do is I would assign these daily to students and have them complete these daily spiral review activities on their own. Then, whenever you meet with students through whatever video system you're using, whether it's Zoom, Google Meet, whatever it is, take 10 to 15 minutes to review the answers to this spiral review as a class together. And this is a good opportunity to let students ask questions. You can even allow students to take over. So for example, with this money question here, you could say, okay, I need a student to teach the money question, and a student can come up and share their video on the screen, and they can walk through the answer to that question and teach the rest of the class. So it's getting them to review these skills in a meaningful way. It's getting them to have discussions with each other. I think this is something that's really important. So there you have it. That is a day of ELA instruction that includes reading, writing, word work, and spiral review. And as you see, a lot of these activities that I shared with you, they weren't difficult to create. I didn't have to spend hours planning out my lessons for online instruction. I just did the 3 things that I told you to do at the beginning of the video, which were to throw out what I am used to with classroom instruction. I looked at how I could take what I normally do and translate it to the tools and resources that I have available. And then I thought about activities that weren't entirely digital to incorporate into my lessons as well. And I created a really easy day of ELA lessons that can really be replicated from day to day. So do you have any other ideas for teaching ELA remotely? If so, I would love to hear what you're doing. Go ahead and leave a comment below, and then make sure to subscribe to my channel because I am uploading new videos every single week to help teachers with instruction and digital learning, and I don't want you to miss out on any of those things. So until next time, happy teaching.